There's a kind of silence that only happens at night, when the city exhales, when even the traffic lights seem to move slower, and you're left walking with your thoughts. I've been thinking about what it means to know something, to really know it, not to repeat it, not to believe it, but to arrive at it, step by step, as if each streetlight were a clue. Because, if we're honest, most of what we claim to know, we've simply absorbed. From teachers, from parents, from people who looked like they were sure. But were they? Are we? Science was supposed to fix this, to give us answers, proof, certainty. But the more I walk with it, the more I realize science isn't a body of answers. It's a way of staying uncertain, a discipline of honesty, a method for being wrong with style. Imagine this. You walk into a room you've never seen before. It's dimly lit, quiet. You pause. You look around. You don't assume. You observe. That is where all science begins. With observation. With stillness. Not with theory. Not with language. With noticing. A flicker of motion. A shadow that moves when it shouldn't. The smallest inconsistency. Curiosity doesn't start with facts. It starts with, "That's strange." We call this the first step. But it's not a step. It's a posture. The decision to look before labeling, to witness before explaining, to attend without rushing to conclude. And most of us never really do this, because it's easier to jump to meaning, to skip the silence and go straight to the answer. But science doesn't do that. It waits. It watches. It listens. That's when something emerges. A thought. A question. A whisper in the dark. What if? Not a belief. A hypothesis. A possibility dressed in humility. To form a hypothesis is to admit, I don't know, but I'm willing to risk a thought. It's not a guess. It's a gesture. A soft offering to the unknown. We say maybe this shadow means something. Maybe this pattern isn't random. Maybe what I saw is trying to speak. But notice, we don't claim it is. We only say, let's imagine that it might be. This is not faith. It's the opposite. It's imagination placed under pressure. And then comes the moment of honesty, the part most of us avoid, the test. Because a real scientist doesn't try to confirm their favorite idea. They try to kill it, gently, but thoroughly. They invite contradiction. They want the idea to fail, if failure is what's true. And this is where science becomes philosophy, or maybe integrity, because it asks of you, can you love an idea and still be willing to watch it die? Not every mind can do that, but every honest one must learn. An experiment isn't magic. It's restraint. It's structure. A ritual of curiosity. You take your hypothesis and place it in a world you've carefully prepared. Then step back and let it speak. You don't interfere. You don't edit the outcome. You observe. And if the world says no, you listen. Sometimes the experiment sings. The pattern holds. The data aligns. The chaos becomes form. But even then, you don't celebrate yet. Because science asks more than one voice. It wants a choir. One result is never enough. Truth here is repetition. Reproduction. It's not what happened once. It's what keeps happening, even when no one is looking. This is patience. This is humility. This is not very human, but that's why it matters. And sometimes, you're wrong. Not just slightly. Utterly. The data breaks your idea in half. The experiment says, not this time. The numbers whisper. Number. It hurts. But this is where science becomes what it really is. A commitment to learning even when it stings. In science, error is not failure. It's material. It's the shape of the path. Not everyone wears a lab coat. Not everyone measures chemicals or stares at graphs. But everyone at some point is asked by life to think like a scientist. You feel something. You notice. You wonder. You form a thought. And then you test it. Against the world. Against yourself. Against time. That quiet discipline of asking, of waiting, of being willing to be wrong. That's not just science. That's maturity. When someone hurts you, and you pause before judging them, that's observation. When you feel anger and ask where it's really coming from, that's a hypothesis. When you try again, differently this time, that's an experiment. And when the outcome hurts, but you adjust instead of denying. That's growth. That's knowing. Not what's easy, but what's true. I walk through this city and I wonder, what if the method of science was not just how we understand the stars, but how we navigate each other? What if doubt wasn't a weakness, but a kind of grace? What if being wrong wasn't shameful, but sacred? Maybe we don't need more answers. Maybe we need more people willing to ask better questions, slower questions, quieter ones, the kind that don't demand but invite. Because knowledge is not a possession. It's a relationship. And like all relationships, it requires patience, honesty, and the willingness to listen, even when the answer doesn't come, especially then.